There are so many different versions of the Transformers, from movies to comic books to TV shows to video games. So many reboots, so many robots in disguise. Where do you start this franchise? Well, there is no perfect starting point for the Transformers storyline. Here are my personal recommendations, some of my favorites that I think are easy to get into without having to know all the names of the characters and whatnot. Just to reiterate, this is just what I recommend starting with. You can decide on your own where you want to start. You can visit the Transformers Wiki or Wikipedia even and pick whatever version of Transformers looks the coolest to you. It's all on you. What I have done is that I chose 4 different categories of the franchise: the movies, the comics, the TV shows, and the video games. And I've chose 2 out of those 4 categories to recommend. Starting with the movies, I kind of recommend starting with Transformers 1. It's the movie that came out last year. It's the newest movie. You get to know the origins of Optimus Prime and Megatron. These new versions of their origin stories featured in the movie are heavily based on lore that Hasbro devised in the early 2010s for the characters that have been applied to so many of the recent versions of the Transformers. And the movie is just really good. It gives you a good idea of what you'll get out of other versions of Transformers. It's just a really cool movie. The other movie I recommend starting with is the Bumblebee movie. It's another one where you don't have to watch anything else, you can just watch it on its own. In the movie, Bumblebee loses his voice box, which explains why he can't talk in other movies, such as Rise of the Beast. And yeah, it's another really good Transformers movie. It's one of my favorite of the live action films. Up next, we have comic books. The main one I recommend is the current run, the run of comics at Skybound. It's written by a fantastic writer, Daniel Warren Johnson. The first issue of the comic is kind of a retelling of the first episode of the 80s cartoon. However, the comic remixes the story a lot to make it a lot more exciting than the show it's based on. And I enjoy it a lot more than watching the original cartoon. It really has everything you need, and then you can just go read whatever version of Transformers you want after it. You can read the other comics in the Energon universe. It's just a really good book. I also recommend reading the 2021 reboot comic of Beast Wars Transformers. It was published by Transformers' previous publisher, IDW Publishing. As of right now, it's not actually available to purchase officially from Skybound, but hopefully that will change soon. I think this is the easiest place to start with Beast Wars. The artwork is pretty good. It introduces a couple of characters that were not in the Beast Wars cartoon, but they're really nice additions to the story, in my opinion. And after you read it, you can watch the old cartoon if you choose to, but that's your choice. It's free on YouTube. I like the show a lot, but I know it's 90s CGI animation, so that's why it's not on my list of TV show recommendations, but I do think it's one of the best Transformers series in general. If you have watched The Rise of the Beast and want to see more of Optimus Primal, I just really recommend this comic. It's a good starting place for Optimus Primal's story. Moving on to the TV shows category, I really recommend watching Transformers Animated. The art style of it is very different from other versions of Transformers, and that's because it was done by Derek J. Wyatt, who later went on to make Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated and Ben 10 Omniverse. He also worked on the 2003 Teen Titans. The show is very similar to Teen Titans, actually, in tone and atmosphere. If you liked the dynamic between the Titans, you'll love the dynamic between the 5 Autobots in this show. They're a great team. The show even has some of the most popular human characters in the franchise. Human protagonists in Transformers tend to get a bad rap because of things like Armada and the live action movies, but the humans in this show are great. Then for the second TV show, I really recommend Transformers Prime. Transformers Prime is my personal favorite version of Transformers. Not everybody agrees, but that's okay. They can have their own opinions and I can have mine. Just like in Transformers Animated, the dynamic between the 5 Autobots is pretty great. Bulkhead is one of my favorite Transformers characters, and he gets so much depth in this show. It's fantastic. Same goes for Arcee and Starscream and Knockout. They're all great. Moving on to the video games, I recommend playing Transformers War For Cybertron. The video game and the Transformers Prime TV show actually share continuity with each other, but the game and the show are very separated, to be honest. You don't need to play the game to watch the show, and you don't need to watch the show to play the game. They're separated. This video game was also a big inspiration for the Transformers 1 movie, so if you watch the movie and then you play the game, you'll see a lot of connections between those two, actually. You'll see where the movie got, like, most of its ideas from by playing the game and watching Transformers Prime. The game got a sequel called Transformers Fall of Cybertron, which is even better than War for Cybertron. My personal favorite Transformers game, though, is definitely Transformers Devastation. The game is very inspired by the 80s cartoon, but again, you don't need to watch the 80s cartoon to play the game. You can play the game on its own. It's really good. You get to fight giant Transformers like Devastator as Optimus Prime and kick its butt. The game is so satisfying, the music is awesome. I just love this game so much. I really wish that everybody would play it. It's so good. Unfortunately, these games are not currently available, but it's been heavily rumored that they're going to be added to Steam. So if they've been added to Steam, I'll add the Steam links into the description of the video so you can buy them. I cannot recommend these Transformers games enough. They are so much fun, they're so good, they're so powerful. I love them. So those are my 8 recommendations for Transformers, with a couple of other ones sprinkled into the mix, but this I think is a good solid starting place for the franchise. And then you can continue to expand your horizon beyond these 8. You can visit the Transformers wiki, which I edit on sometimes, and look at all the other different versions of Transformers. You can go to other YouTube channels and learn more about it. I especially recommend Chris McFeely's video series, The Basics on Transformers. Those videos are very good. I also going to give a shout out to Keyan Carlile. His Transformers animated videos are amazing. So yeah, Transformers is really good. I love it. I hope you love it too.